Right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon if you're in a East Coast or Central Time Zone. Welcome to our Food Biz Plus of the Food Business School. I'm Kathy Joran, the director of the Food Business School, and we're excited to have this monthly conversation today. I'll tell you that we're going to have our conversation for about 40 to 45 minutes. And at the end, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a couple of new things coming up with the Food Business School just for a minute or two. So please hang on after the conversation is over. Today, I would love to welcome Diane Mina. Diane has taken a course with Food Business School and is the founder and creator of Diane's Bloody Mary Mixers, where she turned her garden tomatoes and herbaceous herbs into fabulous Bloody Mary mixes for her own and her husband's restaurants, as well as for the retail market. And today we're going to find out from Diane what it takes to successfully plan, design, and implement the launch of new food products in today's competitive and growing marketplace. And I have looked at all the questions that you've all sent in with your registrations. So we have compiled those together to get our conversation started. But before we do that, I would like to welcome Diane and thank you for joining us today. We're so appreciative of your time. And maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in launching a food product and specifically Bloody Mary Mix.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Well, I'm so thrilled to be here. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. So about 20 years ago, actually a little bit longer than that, I fell in love with Bloody Marys at a very young age, growing up on the East Coast. And I like to say that the Bloody Mary found me because I love Bloody Marys. And then as I evolved in my career in hospitality, working with restaurants and hotels, it naturally I started just making Bloody Marys in my home for events. And so the past 25 years, I've been making them. And then it came to be that they were well received. And it was, expressed to me that I should put it in a bottle. So I said, okay. So that's really how naturally it kind of came to be. And I think that's what happens with people that love to make something, whether it's, food or art or whatever, you're doing it for yourself and what you enjoy. And then when it's well received by others, you feel good about it. And then they give you the support and the energy to make it into something for everybody. So
that's fabulous.
My background is, I've been in the hospitality industry for 30 years. And I love it. I love everything about hospitality.
That's so great. Can I just say that if you're a participant, can you please check your microphone and see if make sure that it's off, because we're getting a little bit of a background noise and it sounds like we're maybe hearing something from a participant. But thank you so much. Okay, so then tell us a little bit about your path and from the idea to launch this as a real retail product and into a restaurant. How long was that process before it actually got to market?
So 2014 is February 2014 is when I was with a group of people in a social setting, and we were discussing my passion. And we also had this opportunity with Levi Stadium where Michael Mina was going into that space. And my husband and I, we are huge 49er fans, football fans. And the concept at the home games where I did a Bloody Mary bar, pretty elaborate setup on tailgates. If anybody knows sports, you do tailgating. And so Michael was doing all the food, I was doing the bar. So that's how it got started. And then 5 years ago, when this collaboration came with the Levi Stadium and the 49er management, my husband said, I'm not doing this without my wife's Bloody Mary bar. So that's how it kind of got started, and I was like nail biting, going, "Oh, I'm going to be with you in this setting." So it was pretty cool. It was such a blessing to be in that opportunity. I've been with Michael for 27 years, but to be side by side with him again like this was pretty cool. So that's how it got started. And then in our home, we have 3 acres. So I wanted to really create something special and that was unique and original to me. And prior to my use of, what I was making, for 20 years, it was another tomato juice, right? And I was just putting all my funness in it. Now I have an opportunity to plant the tomatoes, to grow the herbs. So I made a test kitchen in our garden, basically. And I played around with all different varietals. I played around with herbs, remembering the flavor profile that I loved as a child and through my industry and doing all these events with the spice and the heat, a little bit of the sweet and the smoky flavor. So I spent a good probably 2 years in the garden, kind of planting different varietals, as I was mentioning, and herbs. And then, of course, having the culinary background with my husband. I mean, together we worked on, if I was stuck on a flavor, Micah would say, well, okay, what are you looking for? And then we would talk through it, and then, we would bring that component into it. So it was complete dedication and a lot of learning on my part, because what I thought I knew about food, I didn't know. Putting something in a bottle is very different from serving in the restaurant industry. So
yes. Now I know I have another friend who has a bakery business, and I remember when she started, and she baked loaves and gave them away for 2 years before she actually started selling the bread, because she wanted to test it over and over again to make sure it was the perfect profile and get feedback from other people. So very similar. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight when you want to create something that's really perfect and it's going to be well received, right?
Absolutely, and that's what the tailgate did for me. I was exposed to 1,100 people at every home game, so that was kind of my test market, right? I was making it from scratch, 5-gallon buckets, 60, 80 gallons of tomato juice, and they're like, oh! But literally without that exposure and without that experience, I wouldn't be here today. There's no doubt.
So then, how did you are you using a co-packer, or how are you actually producing it for bottling now?
So we met up, so through the testing ground, through the tailgate, and knowing that, feeling confident that what you're putting out there was well received, what's the next step, right? You're hearing a lot of people come at you saying, wow, this should really be in a bottle, really be put in a bottle. So the energy that was going to making the product had to be shifted into how does that happen, right? And not knowing that industry, I know hospitality, I knew nothing about co-packing. What does that look like? Well, you have to talk to people. It's through the evolution of serving your product and getting it to the masses, where if you have 500, 600 people coming at you, you're going to meet somebody in the industry. They're naturally going to come to you. That's one of the reasons why I was expressing that the Bloody Mary actually found me. So through the tailgating, Williams-Sonoma came to a tailgate and said, we want this product. So that was a blessing. And that doesn't happen all the time, right? That was, I was on a platform to expose my product to hundreds of people, and the right person walked in the door. That's kind of how it happened. So for those who don't have those opportunities, you can still, when you put your product in front of others as much as you can, whether it's through your local farmer's market in town, getting yourself certified, getting in front of, if you're a vendor, getting in front of the right people, get your product, to your point, Catherine, is, making as many loaves as possible. That's what you have to do. It's grassroots. It's getting it out there. And it's the confidence, and you got to stay true to your product too. The integrity is huge. And I also believe that having people in your corner that are of kindred spirit, because you are very personal and it's very close to you, so you tend to not release a lot, but you have to make adjustments. You have to understand the business, understand what the consumer wants, understand what the buyer wants. It's all this. There's a lot of moving pieces, but the one thing I can say that has kept this entire business model and this product moving on the shelves is the people that believe in the story. You stick with your story, you stick true to what you believe in and the integrity of the products and the ingredients. Flex where you can, but if you don't have a good team around you to support that, that's what makes me go stronger every day. If I'm by myself trying to put a product on the market, it's easy to go, oh, I'm tired today, I won't do it. But if other people are believing in you and they're seeing it, then you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, and how great to have Williams-Sonoma come. So then did they help you figure out how to scale it up and do the production?
Exactly
and
right.
Can you oversee?
Exactly right. So that's again another blessing, right? So you're able to, I wouldn't necessarily, so the sales projections, right? Once you nail down your recipe and you've done it 1,000 times over, and that 1,001 time that you have it right with your co-packer, then you go to your partners where you're going to put it onto the shelf, because Williams-Sonoma helped me figure out how many units I needed to produce, because you don't want to overproduce, because then you're sitting on inventory, right? A lot of times, and that's a delicate balance, because co-packers demand a minimum of like 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 units. Well, if you don't have an outlet to put them into, then you're sitting on inventory and you're cutting into shelf time. So it's a really delicate balance. So you make those relationships, or get the product done, tried and true to the way you like it, and it's ready to rock and roll. Then you work with your companies and your partners who are going to put it on the shelf for you, and you talk about the projections. You talk about, what the history of their sales are and how they're going to help you move it. Because typically hopefully when you work with someone who's going to get it on the shelf, they're going to help you move it along. I didn't have an infrastructure. It was a team of one person. So I was like, are you guys going to help me get this out the door a little bit? So and again, they're a wonderful company to work with. Obviously, I'm very fortunate to be in that situation. And they're a premium retailer. So Williams-Sonoma, people recognize that. So that is, and Williams-Sonoma's story, the way Chuck Williams started his whole company, was always about helping that person, meeting the maker. They always want they want to meet the people behind the product all the time.
Right. One more comment about the background noise. It was good for a while and it just came back. So if you're a participant, please check your microphones. Thank you so much. So that is such a great story, and working with one individual retailer who can help you because they know their business, they know their customer, they know their volume, and your product is a perfect fit for them. It's really such a great opportunity and really a wonderful connection to make, and the ideal situation, right? What then are you in that particular situation? Can you only sell your product at Williams-Sonoma?
So we had an exclusivity for a year. Yeah. That was our agreement, and that was lovely. I mean, that's a long time. It's 12 months. Yep. To be on their shelves. We were able to be in 220 of their stores. So that's pretty big. That's a lot of exposure. So after the exclusivity was lifted, then yes, of course, I could go off into outside their doors and get the product on other shelving. I still hear the speakers again.
That's great. Did you, just going back to some of the other questions, did you have to create a HACCP plan for the production of your product? Or did probably the co-packer may have had a HACCP plan?
Oh, yes, again, to the co-packer that we're working with, they take on all those responsibilities, right? So you want to make sure when you're meeting that co-packer that they're compliant, that everything is updated. They take on all of the liability. I'm wondering if I'm hearing some noise.
Are you hearing it too? I'm hearing it too. I'm just trying to.
Is it my side or?
I don't think so. I don't think it's us.
Okay, there it is. It's gone now. Okay.
Yep.
Oops, I can hear myself a little bit. Okay. And someone that you can trust, and the co-packer again. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of great co-packers out there, and one of the most important things with working with a co-packer is once they hear your story and they understand the product or what you're trying to do, you immediately go into a different, they say to you, they love the story, that's great, but then they'll try to adjust your recipe for scalability, right? So, because you want to be successful, you want to have great units. So that was my biggest challenge in these past 4 years. I've gone through about 4 co-packers because of that reason. Only because, and they're great, they do great products, but it was more of what the formula was, they were trying to adjust it, right, with certain preservatives and all those components that go into shelf stabilization. So we were very fortunate that we kept driving that plan of finding someone that really was following our vision.
Yep.
And he's a small, yeah, and he's a small co-packer right now, and it's all artisanal handcraft, so it's working really well. I'm not in a huge rush for scalability. We're looking at 50,000 units this year. I want to slow and steady. You know, we're blessed to have this. I want to try it and true. So it's all, we are scaling up, but at this point, the flow of having the units with Williams-Sonoma and then branching out into our restaurants, it's a nice pace. And then you can control it better. You can see how the movement's happening. You can see if your product is sitting on the shelf, again, to my point, you don't want to overproduce anything. That's that's what keeps me up at night.
And what is the shelf life on your product?
It's 12 months.
Okay.
And once it's opened, it can go up to 8 days.
Okay. And so in working directly with a retailer like Williams-Sonoma, is the co-packer shipping direct to the stores, or, yeah, so you aren't having to go through an additional distributor? Because that is something I think not everybody understands. Sometimes there's so many multiple layers that you have to go through, and you have to really plan your pricing accordingly when you have to go through distributors, brokers, etc. So going direct from a co-packer to the retailer is a really great option.
Yes.
Good. So let's see. We talked about all the co-packings, and in terms of marketing, I think you hit on it a little bit earlier when you talked about the fact that Williams-Sonoma is interested in your story. And I feel like, you know, products that I've seen out there that are successful, and in working with the Specialty Food Association, a lot of what we're seeing is a product based around an individual story seems to have a much higher probability of success, because people want to know the story of the person behind the product. And you seem to have found that the case.
Absolutely. I believe that the consumers, they're educating themselves in health and wellness, right? So they're not necessarily, you know, they're not always going for the packaged item all the time. And even when they are, as long as the ingredients speak to them and that they're pure and that they're natural, people are demanding that. So I think that in your marketing, that would be so when this whole venture started for us, the marketing piece wasn't front and center. For me, it was recipe development. I would, if I was to do this again, I would put aside some resources, financial resources, to get that marketing plan kind of tightened up a little bit more with the branding, because you can kind of do it parallel, in my opinion. And again, once you know the story, and then you're working with people in branding and designing, and they can hear that, they can sculpt it for you. And I just think it's, obviously with Williams-Sonoma, they taught me, because I didn't ever want to have my face on the bottle. I was nervous about putting my name on there. They're like, no, you can't. Like, so they explained to me that they want to see the maker. They want to know it. They want to identify it, because now they feel that they're having a drink with me. This is kind of cool. So I like
very cool. It's very cool. No, and I think it's so important, and they're right on in terms of wanting to know not just about the product, but about the person and about the philosophy and the ingredients, and which all links back to the integrity of the product and what something that they feel really good about enjoying. So that's a great tip. Have you, so in terms of marketing, have you discovered any tools that have made that easier, or have you had to worry about that, or is it really you're really just relying on Williams-Sonoma to deal with that for you?
So
the website is fabulous.
I do have, thank you. I do have a branding company that I work with, but after we had our investor come into the picture, I was able to I've been able to build my infrastructure where I have a team of people. So what I've been doing kind of on my own and grassroots, the social handles and all the marketing. So now I definitely have a marketing, branding department, I guess you could say. So, and I'm still learning because I'm an old dog. I don't know a lot about social media, but I know what I need to know now. But I do see that that's a huge advantage for anyone who's starting out, that would be the first step that I would do, is really work with someone, spend a significant amount of time with them, with that branding person, to get your story out there for you.
Do you know?
Because the product came and the marketing came, so it was a little bit backwards for us.
Do you know the demographic of your main customer? I do think some of our
my demographic, let's see, it goes from the age of the 20-somethings to the 50-somethings, okay? And it's all around celebrations, right? So I haven't really pigeoned into the demographic side of the marketing plan. It's more, I want everybody to enjoy this product when they celebrate anything in their life, whether it's a wedding or a birthday or a bridal shower or having an office party or brunching. It's really been more about celebrations and events more than the target, the young 20-somethings of today. Because I've had people come into my restaurant the other day. This one woman who's adorable. She's my age, 51 years old. She's like, I've never had a Bloody Mary before. And I said, wow. So I'm learning every single day, and this is how this is getting exposed to so many people.
Yeah, you have a product that really reaches a wide variety of audiences, which is really great. Okay, so I'm just looking at some other questions here. So you did mention that you have business partners, but you didn't initially, right? And now you have an investor, and your investor is a source of funding. And was that
in the beginning? It was myself and my husband.
And so when you went to find an investor, did you have to look for someone, or did they approach you, or what experiences have you had in terms of seeking investors?
Again, the blessings through our partnerships and what we're doing. The investor came to me, saw an event that I had done, and said, I can't believe you're doing this. 5 years ago, I met you, and now it's in a bottle. How'd that happen? And I told him about the Williams-Sonoma relationship, and then he's like, I want in. And that's literally how organic and natural it happened. Again, going back to how that would start, if someone wasn't in my position, I would, again, emphasize that getting your product out there, talking to as many people as possible, networking, getting yourself in front of the right people, the investors will come to you. I haven't had the experience. I did, I went to the bank too. I did do the, step 1, step 2 on the bank noting, and they were great as well. Banks are now kind of trying to get a better reputation in helping young business owners and getting their businesses up and going. So that was really comforting.
And there are some organizations, banks and funding organizations that are looking to specifically fund food businesses these days too, which is really nice.
There absolutely is. I haven't had a lot of experience with that and knowing that, but I know, when talking to Michael, there's absolutely people that are putting that aside because look, at the end of the day, it's food, it's hospitality, it's where people want to celebrate and be together. It's a fun investment, right? People who want to invest in someone making a product, it's a fun investment.
Yeah. What do you think about the importance of organics versus natural, which is a term that's somewhat ambiguous. But how important do you think all of that is in the marketplace today?
I don't think it holds as much weight as it used to. I believe so. All my product came from using real natural products, and what I mean by that is whole ingredients. When you understanding that the culinary background that I have is I knew that the ingredients that were in my mix were stabilizers. So whatever your product is, really learn it, know it, educate. I educated myself on the lavage and the honey and the Worcestershire, all the products that went inside my blend. I researched to find the right ingredient that didn't have things I couldn't pronounce in it, right?
Right.
Then when with Williams-Sonoma and branding and marketing, some of the direction that they were telling me that the word organic's not holding weight anymore. People just want to look at it. They want to look at a bottle, and they want to read the ingredients, everything they want to be able to pronounce. The most important thing people want to see is no preservatives and nothing that's unnatural. So there's nothing wrong with using paste. There's nothing wrong with using sugar or salt as long as it says, like sea salt or honey. You know what I mean? So it's what the ingredients are that people are identifying with today, not labeling organic, because even the word organic could mean differently in different farms and in different towns, right? So they can say it's organic, but then is the soil organic? Are the pests, sometimes people put soil in that they might not know, and it might not be fully organic. And again, going through the cost of making something organic is extremely expensive. And starting up with that, if you can learn your ingredient and put everything natural as possible, go through shelf stabilization, go through your testing, learning the pH balance through your co-packer. Don't let the co-packer do all the thinking for you. Get in there with the co-packer, watch him make your product, watch the equipment that he's using, understand the science behind it, and you're going to feel really good about putting a product not needing that organic label on there.
Right. No, I think you're right. It's really all about the origin of the product and that it is a whole product, that people know where it's coming from and what it is. Organic, I know many local farmers who operate in a organic and sustainable way, but they just haven't gotten through the certification process, which, as you say, is very expensive for both the grower and the producer, right? Adds a lot of cost to the product for the end user. Great. Then how did you decide to go about expanding your product from a retail product into a restaurant setting that you've now opened? And maybe you can talk a little bit about your restaurant.
Okay, so after the exclusivity was lifted and we had this opportunity, we have a Mina test kitchen in San Francisco, and it's where we test out our concepts. And we were done. Michael was done running those concepts through, so it was sitting empty. And I wanted to create, and I always wanted to do this, a one-of-a-kind Bloody Mary bar, like all things Bloody Mary. Because it's an iconic cocktail, and we're not reinventing the wheel here, but I want to make a product that's better, that people love. People love Bloody Marys and they love margaritas. So I wanted to create an environment all around the Bloody Mary bar and celebration. So this opportunity came where I had a 50-seat restaurant, and it's Diane's Bloody Mary bar in the marina, and it's going to be exposed to 10,000 people, right? So from 4 days a week, from 9 to 4, all I'm doing is serving Bloody Marys, and I created a retail
Uh-oh, we can't hear you now, Diane.
and hold on one second.
Oh, sorry, now we can.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We've got it now. We've got it. Sorry. We got up to the Bloody Mary bar. Yeah.
The market. So yeah, I have a market. So literally, when the guests come in and they dine, and if they love the Bloody Mary mix, I'm like, well, take 2 steps over. You can buy the bottle right here. So now I have control over pushing that through a little bit, which is exciting. I'm still working with Williams-Sonoma. It's a 3 to 5 year contract. As far as getting it into the restaurants, I'm doing that pretty slowly. I have no assumptions that people are going to carry my product because it's my husband. We have 40 restaurants that I plan on putting him in, probably 20 of them, but it has to fit their profile, right? I don't want to just have, just take my product because Michael's my husband. I want them to love it. So we are still hitting the streets grassroots. We're going to hit, Vegas. We're going to, the concept of a Bloody Mary is so cool because, where people drink the most Bloody Marys is probably in Vegas.
Right. I'm sure people love
my
it.
motto, it's on the bottle. I believe in, drinking beautifully. That's our whole story. Is we believe in drinking beautifully the day after, whatever that holds for anybody. So it's a very cool experience to have this restaurant space, to open up the doors to people who love Bloody Marys but are experiencing it differently, because both my blends I mix with other spirits, so they literally can have 10 different Bloody Marys. So it's pretty cool. I'm really happy about it.
Tell us a little bit about what you got out of taking the food business school class that you took.
I mean, so much. I can't even tell you. I actually have all of the takeaway packets. They're in my binder every day. I use them as references.
Okay.
Because what I was stating earlier, we didn't build that platform early on. What FBS did for us, my partner and I in the beginning, was an incredible roadmap. I mean, there's so much talent at the FBS school and at the CIA, and the time and energy that everybody put those packets together was learning how to have confidence in putting this together. A little bit was intimidating because you have to have that together. You have to make sure that the product tastes good, that it looks good. Hearing the success stories and the failures was huge. Those 2 days we were able to hear incredible stories that were inspirational to us, that made us think of something like, we haven't thought about that part. We need to do that. So highly encourage that seminar for anybody who's trying to put a product on the shelf. It was priceless for us. It gave us better structure. It gave us better groundwork to work with, because again, this was so naturally and organically, we were kind of just making things up as we go. But then to find this and how it came to be, it was a key component in setting our business platform.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. Yeah, that was a concept to shelf course, and it's so valuable because we have a variety of guest speakers in that course, but the participants learn as much from each other in a course like that as they do even from the speakers and presenters as well, which is really a nice team building and people that you can then call on to reference and get advice in the future because you've met them, and you can share stories and successes, like you're saying, as you move forward. Let's see. Did you ever come to a point where you were feeling like it was too difficult or it wasn't going to be successful or you had a hurdle that you were trying to get over? Was there ever that within your process of development?
Oh, I mean, that's every day, but no, when you're the brand itself, it's like you don't sleep well at night, but in a good way. I'm so happy, it's crazy. Yes, there was one point that I thought everything was going to fall apart when we had a surplus of product. I didn't have the co-packer yet, and I didn't have hands to make the product, to deliver it to the buyer. And I had close to 2,000 pounds of tomatoes that had to be
Oh my goodness.
produced and milled and made, and you know, I almost that was a tough day, but I, again with my one partner at the time, she wouldn't let me give up on it, and she's like, "We're gonna find a way. We just have to be patient." And we literally started like digging through all of our paperwork and networking and finding, okay, who does this, who's it, so literally that's how it happened. But as far as the word, I don't know if anything is really, I don't like to say the word hard. I feel that if you love what you're doing and if you want to put something to the marketplace, you're doing it because you want to share something that you love to somebody else. So is it hard? I think there's a huge love. I think there's obstacles. I think there's constant evolution. I think there's constant learning. There's some humility going on. I think there's some sacrifices. I think it's always about balancing. But don't let the people that get into your head change your vision. The people that say, "Oh, you need to do it this way. Oh, why don't you put, Diane, why don't you put in X, Y, and Z, and then you can do this, this, and that." And I'm like, yeah, but that kind of changes the direction of the whole story. Those are the big pieces that I would, if I could share these stories, is keep the noise out of your head, listen, gravitate, take those that are going to be true to you. When people give you advice, because it's going to come at you every 5 seconds, you respectfully say, "Thank you so much. I've never thought about that." And then just stay true. Take it into your head, think about it, and make sure it sticks to your story.
I think that's a very key takeaway from this conversation is just, knowing where you're going, maintaining true to yourself, and having confidence and knowing that you're going to have situations where you might stumble a little, but just persevere. And sometimes it does help if you have a partner, and when one of you is frustrated, the other one is positive, just like when you have an exercise partner or something, and one of the partners is going, right? So really, one of the things that also comes out of your story is, your network and the people that you know and the people that you've met in the industry. And it sounds to me like you would just encourage people to get involved in the industry, meet as many people as you can, get out there in front of people to be able to make those connections, because this industry, as big as it is, it's also very small, and everybody knows everybody, and you can make a lot of connections to build a business, don't you think?
Absolutely, and that's, again, going back to FBS, is that, we have the pleasure of meeting, what you were saying before, is you meet others like you, trying to get a product onto the shelf. And I loved hearing the stories. Someone was coming from India with an incredible chutney, and you get to, you're not so nervous when you're in a room with 15 to 20 other people that are trying to do what you're trying to do. And then you do share stories. And even through that process, your product is getting exposed even in something like that. So for those who don't have the relationships or the networking, that might be coming from another country, that want to start fresh here or vice versa, it is classes and seminars that like what you guys offer to those that are going to set the right path. I truly believe that. I feel like that is a key component, because for someone who doesn't know where to go, the fact that there's a school and there's a company that people can go to ask questions, because the internet can be scary, right? You can look anything up on the internet and you can kind of make your own story. And that was the other part I wanted to mention, is that if there is a similar, find somebody, I learned this through FBS. One of the speakers said this: you don't have to reinvent everything if you don't have that bandwidth. If you can identify with someone, for an example, if I fell in love with someone who has a Bloody Mary mix and I love that story, gravitate to that story, hear how that person got started, and then you make those adjustments. I think a lot of the times we panic, for those who want to put something on the shelf, that it has to be so original, it has to be so different, right? Because you want to be like, you want to stand out above the rest. And I think that can gobble up a lot of your time. So, one of my stories, I love Sammy Hagar. I'll put that for an example. His story and how he started Cabo Wabo, right? Mm-hmm. When you identify with someone in their story, that'll help you build and get the confidence to continue with what you're doing for yourself, and including Food Business School and how they offer very detailed, very structured, and opportunities. The fact that I was able to sit with 15 other people and role play and talk and taste each other's products, and then you have the speakers there, they're guiding you through and how that all works, because as you know, the speakers are success stories, right? Those are the guys that are coming in telling you how to do it. So
right. Great tips. Thank you so much. Anything else that you want to leave our audience with today?
Oh, just have fun. Whatever you enjoy. You're gonna have days that you're gonna cry, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it. When you see the look on someone's face when they've popped open that bottle of whatever you have, oh, it's a great feeling, and that's what's gonna keep you going. Stay true, and just enjoy it and educate yourself. Always know that each day you're gonna learn something new.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Diane. We so appreciate it, and congratulations on your success for your product and your new Bloody Mary bar. I'm getting down there very soon. And we look forward to seeing more of what you have to offer as we see it on more shelves. So thank you so much again for your time. And listeners, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our next FOODBIZ Plus, which will be in September. And that one will be with Sophie Egan. Sophie Egan is a CIA director of all of our health and wellness programs here at CIA. She heads up a number of initiatives with college and university food services, and our Menus of Change initiative, which is a conference and a report. She's going to talk about the Menus of Change principles and the latest news from the food scientists that we have related to Menus of Change and how to incorporate them into products and menus on Thursday, September 20th. So please, the information about signing up for that will be available soon. I also want to mention that the course that Diane was talking about, Concept to Shelf, we are looking to schedule one of those at our Napa Copia campus in November, so keep an eye out for that on our website. And if any of you are interested in earning a master's degree in food business, that is our latest offering from Food Business School, which we'll be announcing in the coming couple of weeks. But we have a brand new Master Professional Studies in Food Business program in the works that is primarily online and available for food entrepreneurs and restaurateurs and people in the industry to take while they're continuing to work in their businesses and further their education and receive that master's degree with either a food service focus or a food product focus. So stay tuned on our website for those new offerings, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you again, Diane,